Welcome back to Grounding Gods. So good to have you here. So today we're starting a new playlist called Saint or Sinner, You Decide. And first up is none other than former President Donald Trump. Let's throw away all the propaganda mainstream media throws at us and any fake news social media has been spewing out to strip former President Donald Trump public's persona off to peek behind the veil, so to speak, to see the actual universal forces at play within his natal chart, his soul's blueprint, to see what forces shaped him and what forces still motivate him today. All this will be through the lens of useful metaphysical astrology I use here on this channel. If you have any questions about my interpretations, you can check out my new playlist, Metaphysical Astrology Explained. Also remember, metaphysical astrology uses the actual sidereal placements of celestial bodies, not the outdated approximate placement seen in many other mainstream astrological charts. I have a video regarding this as well, which I'll link in the information section below. Now, back to Trump. I'll start with the planetary and other celestial bodies in Trump's chart and their placements. Then we'll interpret how all these energies express themselves through him constructively or destructively, right? Or a combination of both. To be fair, I will be doing the same for Vice President Kamala Harris, her natal chart, and I'll do that next. So let's do Trump. Trump's ascendant, his first house, the house of self, ego, outward appearances, how his energy emanates to those around him, is colored by the energies of Leo, the king of the concrete jungle. Remember, I am using the true sidereal placements of celestial bodies here, not the outdated ones from other mainstream astrological schools are still using. There is a video linked below. Okay, not only does this give Trump the king of the jungle vibe, he has Mars just 2 degrees from the royal star of Regulus, Alpha Leo, the heart of the king, meaning if he expresses the higher evolved or light side of this energy, he is genuinely a leader with heart. But we will have to see how other energetic aspects of his chart influence these energies, and we'll do that when we interpret all the energies after I finish recapping the placements. Okay, Trump's second house, what he values in the physical material plane, is colored by the energies of Leo and then with the energy of Virgo. Again, remember, I am using the sidereal placements, meaning the constellations are not all equal in size and therefore do not line up perfectly within the exact mathematical division of the chart's house. Okay, so at first he did value being the concrete king in his early years, and in many ways he owned that, right? But then the energies of Virgo took over. The energy of Virgo is also flavored by the energies of Quaoar, Neptune, Ixion, Juno, Chiron, Astrea in a rolling conjunction in the second house. That's a lot. That's a lot of energy in his second house. He values a lot here in the material world. I will do a metaphysical astrology interpretations of each of these planets and celestial bodies that metaphysical astrology uses. I was simply, and I'll put that in the playlist, which explains metaphysical astrology, but I was simply guided to get these 2 first videos on the Saint and Sinner playlist done now and get it out to you. All right. So Quaoar gives Trump the ability to be a visionary in the material world. Neptune brings his visions for this world to their highest degree. He really has the gift of a top-down perspective here. Ixion has made it a struggle to always be able to do this in the right way. Juno makes him value traditional family roles. Chiron gives him the desire to heal those. And Astrea is giving him the gift of seeing humanity's potential, even if, it forces him to clearly see he's seeing the gifts of humanity, but he's also seeing their shortcomings. Jupiter makes Trump inclined to value all of this, not just for himself and those closest to him, but to bring these values all within his larger extended family, which would include his employees, his his community, and even the nation at large if he was to be elected again. Again, we will have to see how all the other energetic aspects of his charts influence these when we get to the interpretation interplay at the end. All right. So onward, Trump's third house is showing us his ability to communicate effectively with those in his immediate environment. This area of his life is colored by the energies of Virgo at the very end, and then, yes, at the very end, Libra. Jupiter sits on the cusp of his third house, making him communicate on a grand scale. Interestingly, his IC, his personal roots, how he is rooted in this lifetime, is conjunct with Carlico, the energy of creating a safe place to heal. Now, Virgo, before one masters that energy, can make a person critical of others, even highly so. However, if a person starts to work on their own shortcomings, they can overcome this. Libra at the end of the third house can either create someone who listens and learns and communicates with a balanced harmonic style, or someone who rushes to judgment and sometimes harsh judgment. Again, we will see this dynamic, how this plays out in the interpretation. Libra is also on the cusp and colors almost half of Trump's fourth house of home and emotional nurturing and emotional comfort. Scorpio colors the second half of his fourth house with Ophiuchus, the 13th constellation that does actually cross the ecliptic. So we read it when using metaphysical sidereal placements. Ophiuchus colors the end of Trump's fourth house. Okay, what does this mean? His childhood home and the one he provided for all of his own children could have been very harmonic, very beautiful, full of nurturing, supportive energy. Or if there are harsh aspects at play in the interpretation, there could be times of imbalance, such as harsh judgment. We'll see that at the end. But what about Scorpio and Ophiuchus? Scorpio would pressure him or his more nurturing parent to cut out the dead wood from the household from time to time, so to speak. Anything or anyone that was not serving the highest and best good of the family or home, or for people who own a business like he does, this would include, their place of work. They would just cut whoever needed to be let go, right? Whoever was no longer productive for the whole, right? For the benefit of the whole. Maybe even harshly at times. Luckily, Ophiuchus ends the fourth house, which is the higher expression of the lower Scorpion energy, when through the dead of which no longer serves, the dead wood, which has been discarded, and is no longer serving a higher purpose, is let go. And when Scorpio transforms into an eagle, the Ophiuchian phoenix. Meanwhile, each time this happens in Trump's fourth house, it was motivated to rid his home of toxic energies, to heal and transform, to lift up his home, his family, or his employees, his places of work to a higher and more healed expression or nurturing environment. That's interesting. Not surprisingly, Trump's fifth house, his area of life dealing with his greatest passions, things through which he is motivated to create, the things he is motivated to bring into this world, this house is colored by Ophiuchus and then Sagittarius, the Phoenix and the Centaur. The Ophiuchian energy here is highlighted and shaded by Trump's moon, South Node, Lilith, and Cupido. And Achilles. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's his Achilles heel, of which the first four are in a tight conjunction. This blended energy shows us that Trump has always been motivated from his emotional core. He's always had an innate weakness for highly sexual, sexually aggressive, but overly sexual females, right? That are overtly sexual. In essence, this is his Achilles heel. He truly loves, beautiful, sexy women, but these energies conjunction with the South Node also show us that this is an area that will bring him much pain and suffering until he is able to let go of it, which is a lesson of the 11th house in his chart that we will discuss when we get to the interpretation. Okay. Later in the 5th house, we see this underscored by his vertex placement, and then the asteroid Pallas Athena, a broadening understanding of the value and an actual passion for strong, intelligent women. Most especially those within his family or immediate environment, right? Which I guess when you're if you were in politics or a president, that would include the nation. Which if he has to become, president again, would include all of us. With Pallas Athena being in Sagittarius, he truly will see all Americans as his family with his placement. In the 6th house, what energies helped him? This is showing us what energies helped form how he feels, how he can be of best service to others. With his 6th house colored first by Sagittarius, he desires to impact, to be of service to his larger family, community, employee Americans, right? And with his 6th house, colored by Capricorn, he is truly motivated to build something stable that will be of service to us, that will stand the test of time. Now, Sagittarius in 6th is shaded here with the energy of floss. Floss motivates one to question societal norms, unveiling hidden truths to gain insights, and then that insight creates a catalyst for change in the real world, or especially in this area. Interesting. With Ceres conjunct Fortuna at the end of the 6th house means Trump is programmed to be of service to the greater good by building a safe, nurturing home in which he provides for those in his charge with the ability and opportunity to learn how to fend and care for themselves. And when he is able to do so, it is something that will be blessed with Fortuna, meaning that he does this because it feels right to him, because this is, I'm kidding, thank you, Spirit. It feels right to him because this is the way in which he truly feels blessed when he is of service. The 6th and 7th house cusp, Capricorn, Ceres, Fortuna conjunction close to his descendant also shows that it is a blessing when he pairs up with other people who truly desire to build constructive things in this world to help others, the greater populace, survive on their own, which actually just brings someone to mind. And I want to mention that. Okay. So he is fortunate to have partnerships that support his building things of value in our world. Well, that's good. Okay. Trump's 7th house starts with being colored by the energy of Capricorn, then transitions into being influenced by the energy of Aquarius, divine inspiration, right? This is divine inspiration for those who do not have energetic blockages in this aspect. A person, in short, Trump's one-on-one partnerships then support what he aspires to in his 1st house, Leo, Mars energy. And any given number of those partnerships are supported by his partner's humanitarian inspirations as well. We're now on the outer expression of his natal chart. So this house especially is also influenced by energies, natal charts of his partners, marital, family, business, political, whatever. Okay. The 8th house here is colored only by the energy of Pisces, which is further flavored by chaos close to Vesta and Eris close to Amor, showing that Trump was fated to have deep transformational relationship with himself, his unconscious motivations, and trying to comprehend what he values from a deep and unconscious level. His early intimate relationships with himself and others caused a lot of confusion Could have been more unconscious than conscious at the time, but as he evolved, as he grew older, it would have definitely come to the conscious, into his consciousness or into his awareness. There isn't a dichotomy here between what he believed this or these relationships should be with Vesta and what they turned out to be. Eris with Amor shows us that his intimate relationships, especially his less fortunate ones, were also fated to make headlines, causing him great suffering, suffering that was intended to help. The universe created this. It was fated to help Trump grow and evolve as a person. With Pisces, it is certain that his suffering has helped him transform. Yes, that is certain. I was going to say something else, but it would be going off topic. But okay, at least to forge a bond with the mystical, spiritual, divine forces, he should assuredly have a strong faith in a higher power, if not in, yeah, but probably not in his intimate partners at this point. Okay, so the ninth house, okay, ninth house starts with Pisces flavored with Hagia, Sedna, close to Varuna, just a few degrees away. This tells us that Trump's world philosophy started out concerned with healing wrongs against women. But as the energy ninth house, well, as the energy here in the ninth house abruptly changes to Aries, we see Trump's midheaven, his MC here, his outermost expression in the world, the fruit of the tree of his life, rooted back in the third house, that was conjunct Charlico, right? The one who desires to prepare a place for healing to begin. Basically, what he is known for in the greater world here by the global populace. His MC is conjunct Nessus, following Eros, and followed by Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and sexual love, at the very pinnacle of the chart. Wow. Wow. Okay. So you don't have to read the news. Okay, here we go. This is the energy that communicates to those most removed from Trump, right? Which would be the general public, right? All of us. That he is a misogynist who loves to force himself on women sexually, especially beautiful, sexy women. Oh, wow, it's all in his chart here. With all this being in Aries, the public image of Trump was fated to be literally forced upon the world stage, so prominent, to look as if it was his prominent philosophy on life, which we saw before wasn't true, right? It didn't start out like that. So, but life changes people. Okay, I don't want to color anything myself, so let's stick to the reading. Okay, his 10th house starts with late Aries energy, but it is filled with Taurian energy for the most part. So his second legacy will be of a man who valued building stable, long-lasting structures for his community, or in this case, if he's elected again, his nation. Okay, no comment from me. In the 11th house, it begins with the color of Taurus, then switches to Gemini energy a third of the way through. In the first third of this powerhouse of universal energy, let's see, Uranus starts off a tight stellium at home in the 11th house, joined by Dejeuner, Orcus, the north node, Trump's sun, and Atropos. Okay, fate. This is a lot of power in Taurus in the humanitarian 11th house. This is like really eye-opening. Uranus, when we're connected to that energy, brings direct inspiration from divine spirit. We also see energy of female victimhood from abuse. Orcus then is pushing to reestablish a structured order after the abuse, to transform that, right after the understanding of the lessons there, to transform toxic energies And since this is his North Node, this is something that has to be expressed in this lifetime. So these were energies that were blocked to him as a younger man, but as he's gotten older, this energy will have been forced on him by fate. And then the sun is making this lesson an even greater focus, passion, as he will always desire to achieve this, right? So let me recap in case that wasn't clear. So what we're seeing is there is a fate, and I'm already seeing that there was an eclipse. He was born on an eclipse, a full moon eclipse. So there's an ending of an emotional aspect of his, of his emotional body. There's him achieving a higher level of a certain aspect. So we'll talk about that in the interpretation. But what we're seeing here is he's basically, his lesson is that he needs to create basically a safe haven for this type of female or feminine energy, or people with feminine energy in this lifetime, and in a humanitarian way, some sort of structure. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. But again, we have to see how the interpretation comes together at the end. All right. So at first that wouldn't be conscious, but with time and age, that comes more to the fore. I mean, the North Node is just something that nags at you until you embrace it. Okay. So, and with Atropos again, this is the energy of fate and destiny, right? Okay, so he actually has the power to turn all of this around. Actually, he has a humanitarian mission to do. So he's fated to learn the value of the female energy, all facets of female energy, and restructure himself and society to help females, or those with feminine energy. Now I understand why Aphrodite is at the very pinnacle of his chart. Okay. On the cusp, directly between the 9th and the 10th house, when Trump says he loves women, he's not joking. I mean, he really worships them. But we'll have to wait for the interpretation of the interplay of all these forces to see if he can pull this off, which, hopefully he will, right? That would be good for everyone. So his 11th house ends in Gemini, forcing the Gemini force is flavored by Mercury, which is, at home in Gemini, Maki Maki, and Nemesis. So Trump is definitely, here he is definitely being led to communicate his humanitarian, causes to the masses. With Maki Maki and Nemesis energy intertwined here, his communication on humanitarian efforts will wisen only after he suffers from basically sticking his foot in his mouth too many times. This is actually funny when we think about it, but I'm not putting in I'm not going to put comments in. Okay, the highest expression of this 11th house energy is direct inspiration, communication from the divine. The lowest is communication on the internet. Isn't that funny? His ability to put his own foot in his own mouth when he's trying to communicate or defend his humanitarian ideas via the internet and social media. It's literally written right here in the chart. Okay, the 12th house, Trump's 12th house, the house of our souls, direct connection or block from higher consciousness, the abyss, the flow state, not just like in the 11th house, receiving or being inspired to act by direct communication from universal consciousness. This is the highest expression, right? The highest expression of the 12th house energy is actually being able to connect to the flow state at will, a state in which the divine flows through and co-creates with us. Okay? In Trump's chart, the 12th house starts with Gemini. Gemini has a hard time learning how to go with the flow, but they can learn. In the 12th, Trump also has Saturn and Venus flavoring Gemini. Venus can easily connect to the harmonic mystical realms of Pisces. And with Saturn by her side, which is not not a mountain goat, it is a sea goat. So Saturn, the higher expression of Saturn is connected to the spiritual realm. Okay. So, or divine inspiration. So it shows that here it's showing that Trump probably does find comfort in faith or religion. His 12th house energy is colored by Cancer, by throughout. So here again, religion or faith could be something that has been very, very nurturing or healing for the former president, even transformative with Pluto there as well. He's likely has turned to this when, during his most difficult moments. So his 12th house, yeah, excuse me, his 12th house returns him to Leo's energy, flavored by Haumea conjunct his ascendant. It takes Haumea 285 years to orbit the sun, so its influence is generational. However, being on the cusp between Trump's 12th and first house on his ascendant does give it more emphasis here. So first, this gives the king of the concrete jungle some noticeable, almost feminine qualities. This placement also shows that he is innately motivated to help women, which we saw back, right? That was in the 9th house, the beginning of the 9th house before something happened. Okay. So some life experience, right? That changed, right? So especially mothers. Okay, so this is interesting. So he's innately motivated to help women, especially mothers. He's motivated to support, in essence, to help transform these women to be reborn, to basically rebrand themselves. And that's interesting because from appearance, he's always been very supportive of his children, and I think their mothers as well. I don't know. I'm not really into all of that. All right. So anyway, let's now take a quick look at the interplay of energetic aspects between the strongest energies at play in Trump's chart. This will show additional supporting energies or blockages of sacred geometric aspects. They will also show the focus of Trump's life and what he must overcome to achieve its highest expression. Then you can decide, is Trump a saint or a sinner? Okay, let's look at the harsh, disruptive, energetic aspects in Trump's chart first. Excuse me. I see 7 oppositions, 3 of which are creating 3 plows, and 2 plows creating 1 strong grand cross. So let's look at the oppositions first. I see Trump has several oppositions. Well, actually, there are 2 main plows and one main grand cross. I must immediately point out that this is showing us that Trump was born during a full moon lunar eclipse, which will be the most important aspect in his whole chart, influencing all other aspects. This means Trump was born into this lifetime, if you believe in reincarnation, for the purpose of completing some aspect of his soul's evolutionary journey, dealing with his unconscious emotional body in regards to his unhealthy self-note attachment to falling for overtly sexual women, which has been his Achilles heel, and rising to act in a more inspiring humanitarian way, especially towards women or women who, or people with feminine energy, especially those who have been abused or subjugated in some way, to build new structures that will protect these people and help them rise up. This with Atropos is fated. He must learn to value and protect women. Then he has these 3 oppositions. So 3 of these oppositions are creating 4 plows. All right. Okay, so 1 plow is created by the opposition between Neptune and Virgo. All right. The second plow, all right, is here between the 5th and the 11th. So the first plow is between the 8th and the 5th. And the second plow is between the 5th and the 11th. All right. To say this man's relationship with women has been hard would be a gross understatement. Okay, so a plow symbolizes facing the point of the plow or the spear, right? The plow is a sign of suffering in anyone's life. It is like being plowed under. The suffering can be extremely intense. Plowing is a metaphor that applies, it applies to life in general. Just as plowing is preparation for planting, it symbolizes preparing for a job, a project, or an activity in life. Um, it's the suffering we go through that is designed to make us suffer so that we learn these lessons. They're lessons that we don't forget, right? The hardest lessons in life are the lessons we don't forget, and that's what the plow is symbolizing. And then we have these two plows, which are giving us a grand cross. Well, a grand cross is formed, well, you can see how it's formed. Okay. This cross is a symbol of the suffering and the death of transformation of an aspect of oneself, right? Like being crucified, of all the signs of suffering or conflict or disruptive energies in a natal chart. The Grand Cross is the most severe. The Grand Cross is also unstable, like a wheel with four spokes around without a rim, of course. And as the person with the Grand Cross jumps from one spoke to the next, he or she they changes from one persona to another, like a person on a frantic search for happiness. Again, to master this square, one must harmonize, balance each of the opposing forces. And here there's two opposing forces. So he would have to harmonize both opposing forces simultaneously. And it can be done. I've done it in my chart. Okay, so when one masters the oppositional energies, creating the suffering of the harshest aspects, one can actually rise above these disruptive energies, these blockages, and turn lessons learned into stable blessings that they can use, add to their skill set and use to be more productive in their lives, right? And to have more fulfilling lives. Okay. Let's look at the harmonic, sacred, geometrical, energetic aspects at play in Trump's chart. We can see a strong grand trine, a Star of David, two additional kites, and one mystical rectangle. I like to call them envelopes, but anyway. All harmonic aspects are blessings. These are energies operating within and through Trump that he was born with, and unless affected by a harsh transit, will be available for him to tap into throughout his life. Okay, so his strongest grand trine is here. And okay, and then a grand trine is a triangle, so it's extremely strong structure. It operates basically without Trump even aware of his existence. So these are areas that would flow very smoothly in his life without him having to put much work or effort into trying to figure out how to harmonize them. Some people actually, they work so well on their own that some people actually fail to use these skill sets, these blessings in their lives. But most people with age do take notice of them, right? Because there's always something comes up where you need to use it. And then we have the Star of David, which is created by the first grand trine with a second, one pointing in different directions. The Star of David is a hexagram in the chart and is the most propitious or the most favorable sign that is possible in an astrological chart. The Star of David indicates a higher level of quality than the norm. A person with a Star of David in the birth chart would demand the highest quality and not settle for anything less. The person or Trump would think differently than most people. It's like a superstar, a nova. It surpasses the five-pointed star in a chart, um, but it is an unstable configuration. It takes a little bit of getting used to make it express its highest expression. It's like spokes on a wheel. So again, the person is kind of stepping from piling to piling of a washed out pier, and the person would always be concentrating on the next step, right? So they don't fall. And so the six-pointed stars, they're in six different signs, which further define the main issues of the person's life, along with the houses and the planets and so on. So the Star of David is obviously a sign of great blessing. The person with this in their birth chart would have special blessings from the universe. Trump would be the recipient of a special grace. The divine would be basically looking out for him. Just because they have it doesn't mean that they'll master the gifts or the talents that come with it. But again, with age, looking at someone who is very accomplished, they didn't get there without having using their talents, right? So, I don't know him personally, so and again, I don't want to color this. I just want to interpret it. Okay, so, but the blessings would be unconditional, regardless, and would always be there for them to use when they were able to figure out how. Okay, so then we had the two kites. The first is attached to this grand trine, and the second is here. An individual with a kite in a birth chart has the ability to soar above the problems while others are stuck on the ground in the same sort of circumstances that the kites are, showing us, right? So people with kites have more stability and greater flexibility, more happiness and productivity. And they have an easier walk through life in the areas that the kites cover. The kite enables all the power of the grand trine to be harnessed into a single direction, which is wonderful. And then we see the rectangle you can see how it's designed, right? So it has the crossbars, right? And these crossbars are kind of like two teeter-totters that pivot in the middle, right? So the secret to achieving the balance and utilizing these gifts is to balance and harmonize the planets on either side of these oppositions, right? Just like with a Grand Cross. But when it's achieved, it's a much greater blessing. Okay. When this is in the birth chart and when it's mastered, it's a source of great operational stability. For example, a person might be able to guide a boat through the rapids or drive a race car through an obstacle course or maybe lead a nation, right? The person would be adept at managing the conflicts of the two crossbars at the same time, where the two ends of each crossbar would have to be played against the middle or the middle path, right? This is the kind of configuration that is able to navigate the storms of life with poise and composure. Remember, all blockages can become blessings in a person's life as well, as long as a person puts in the work, even though it's, not easy, and learns how to harmonize these energies to make them constructive. This is usually mastered, it's very difficult to be mastered before the age of 60, because there's just too many moving parts, and that's what life is. Life is a lesson, right? But even at 60, many people have never mastered it or never do master it, which is very sad. So now with all the propaganda and fake news stripped away, and with the universal forces and shapes that show us what shaped and motivated Trump clearly defined. Is former President Trump saint or sinner? You decide. To be fair, I will be doing the same for Vice President Kamala Harris, her natal chart, and I'll do that next. Bye bye now. Bye bye.